I'm here to tell you about my buddy Billy Harman. I have a football story that I don't think Billy likes to hear, but I'm going to tell it anyway. Billy went out for freshman football at New London High School. And on this one particular day, in this one particular game, there was Billy standing between the opposition runner, and the end zone. Now, I'd like to tell you that Billy made this game-saving tackle. Billy didn't. The guy ran right over him. That guy happened to be Nick Petrosani. Now, I don't know how many guys know about Nick Petrosani. He went on to the University of Notre Dame, went on to play for the Detroit Lions, was an all-star, and still is regarded one of the toughest running backs in the NFL. My point here is that Billy never was afraid to take on tough guys, although that ended his football career. But it didn't end his basketball career. He played 4 years at New London High School and was captain of his senior year and actually led the team in scoring, and they still talk about Billy's 30-foot set shot. They say it brought down snow. That's how you got it. Of course, auto racing took over from Billy, and he started at Waterford and ran against Webster and Dunn and those guys, and then did very well, and then moved on to NASCAR and took on Hamilton and Slater and Bugsy and Gahan and Hamilton and all the rest of them guys that are in the Hall of Fame now. And he ran everywhere. I mean, Billy ran 3 times. This guy ran 100 races, 3 different seasons. Ran 100 races. Ran at, 50, 60 racetracks, winning at 14 of them. And he was just so much a part of that modified style that we all enjoyed in the 60s and 70s, the hijinks and the fooling around and, staging those fights at Waterford and playing games at Malta and things. And, he's got a few Richie Evans stories. And he was just so much real part of that. But, I am insanely jealous of Billy Harman. Because Billy Harman has no one anywhere has as many first-hand stories about George Pendergast as Billy Harman. This guy one afternoon, Billy and I sat in his house in Niantic for 3 hours, Billy, telling George Pendergast stories about stealing chicken and selling it at Daytona and all these kind of things. I'm just, golly, to have been part of that, it's like, wow. But I'll tell you what, I'm a big guy, and I'm going to overlook that jealousy, and I'm going to tell you it is with great pride that I invite Billy Harman up here to become a member of the New England Racing Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Peter. I would like to thank the entire NAIR committees, the Board of Directors, the advisors, the Hall of Fame executive committees, and nominating and selecting committees for this honor. The work that they do to preserve our legacy of auto racing is outstanding. I would also like to congratulate all of our past Hall of Famers and members of the new class of 04. I want to talk about the class of 04. I knew quite a few who knew him very well. Lenny Bowler, no question, one of the best, greatest race car builders of all time. I had the opportunity on 2 occasions to sit behind the car and just warm it up. Never drove the race car, but it was just a privilege to sit in one of Lenny's cars. Lenny won many championships. He had the best drivers in the business to do so. Freddie DeSaro, Bugsy Stevens, Leo Clary. I'm going to tell you a little story about in Daytona. One night after a race at New Smyrna, we were all at Edie's Bar and Grill. It was a hangout for all the Northern race fans. Richie Evans had just won the race at Smyrna. It was quite crowded down at Edie's. Everybody's standing around having a beer. Lenny Georgie Pendergast and Richie Evans were outside on the sidewalk. Drinking on the sidewalk of Daytona is an ordinance which is not allowable. Crusoe drove up and parked next to Lenny, standing there, and asked Lenny and George and Richie in the back seat. I understand Lenny opened the door and let them both in, closed the door behind him, and as the officer drives away, Lenny starts singing, "Cab driver, once more around the block, never mind the ticking of the clock." The officer was so impressed with Lenny, he started laughing. He did turn the car around, drove it in front of the bar, and asked him to please to get out and call it a day. And then said to Richie, "By the way, Richie, did you win again tonight?" So apparently this officer was a race fan. Bill Schindler. I knew Bill Schindler all my life as Bill Schindler. I never met Bill, but as a racing fellow who was in love with racing, knew the name Bill Schindler. Bill Schindler was a name as big as Earnhardt, A.J. Foyt, Mario Andretti, Leo Clary, Bugsy Stevens, Gene Bergen. He was as big as they came. Without a doubt, one of the best open-wheel drivers of our time. Now, Charlie Design-back. I raced with Charlie for some good 10 years. One of the hardest charges ever. No question to anybody here. Also, Charlie was a personal friend. I was flying in from Martinsville after running a 100-lapper one Sunday afternoon, coming in, and we were late getting in Teddy Marsh's aircraft. We ran into a little problem. We did have a car waiting at Islip, 200-lapper that we were going to try to qualify for. We were late getting in. Charlie got in my car and qualified it in third spot, although he qualified his own car in the pole. That was a friend Charlie was. Now we have a Harman Beaver Dragon. I've heard more about Harman Dragon all my life because people are thinking all these wins he's doing was myself. But how ironic, there's two Harmans being inducted today. And he was certainly one of the great ones. Dick Dixon knew Dick very well. We ran many races upstate New York together in Malta, New York, and a few races at Plattsburgh, a few races at Thompson. I was one of Dick's fans as a young kid. I was younger than that group. I'd go to Riverside Park, and no question, Dick was one of the best. Paul Tremaine, a checkered flag announcer. Every night after I raced, every afternoon, I'd call Paul, hoping to hear my name. Once in a while it was there, once in a while it wasn't. But Paul, great job keeping our legacy going also. Fred Frame, 1932 Indianapolis 500 winner. What a time for me to be inducted with an Indianapolis 500 winner. This is a big time. Without a doubt, one of the greatest open-wheel truck drivers of our time. Now, Sammy Packard. Sammy was a friend of all of us from the Northeast. We would all go to Sammy's shop in Daytona, look at his historical midget sprints that he restored. Great friend seeing Sammy Packard. Without a doubt, Bobby Blair, one of the best midget drivers that we've ever had in this country. I feel very honored today to be inducted along with these true gentlemen of our sport of racing. In 1951, I was an 8th grader. I remember when the London Waterford Speedway was being built, I made the very first race and would attend every race from there on. Johnny Brower was a big influence on my racing career. We would go to the races any place we could get to go after school. The very first name in racing at New London I can remember was a fellow named Mo Beersey. Mo was my hero. Later on, I got the chance to race quite a bit with Mo. Then there were names like Georgie Lombardo, Freddie Lucchese, Dave Humphreys, Georgie Pendergast, Hank Stevens, Redfoot, Bill Slater. All of these drivers were drivers that I, as a kid in 7th grade, was out watching. Gene White, Sparky Belmont, just these names makes me feel good to say. Dick Beauregard, who could ever forget Dick Beauregard? Don Collins, Ed Flemke, Teddy Stack, Charlie Webster, Joe McNulty. These guys were all my heroes. Johnny Sandberg, Johnny Thompson, Marvin Chase, Ed Spinner Smith, Dick Watson. And then we had promoters. Rex Records, I believe, was our first promoter. Harvey Tattersall, and then Johnny Whitehouse. Excuse me. Riverside Park. Again, I was maybe a freshman in high school, making our first trip to Riverside. And there was an announcer there, Tom Gowan, I believe his name was. And he did something for racing that still today stays with me. He had a way of talking to the people, talking to the crowd, and his voice was just fantastic. Like names like Jocko Majucamo. He pronounced everything absolutely perfect. Gene Bergen, Jerry Humiston, Dick Dixon, Buddy Krebs, Rennie Charland, Johnny Boy, Johnny Georgitis, Dennis Zimmerman, Moon Burgess, Bill Burko, Phil Smith, Phil Mitchell, Sparky Belmont, and Gene White. Now these are all names that I remembered all from school. Never had a chance at the time to race with them, but later on it did happen. Noah Arena in the cut-down days, Leo Cleary, Freddie Schultz, Hop Harrington, Reno Taluna, Georgie and Bobby Pendergast, Joe Rosenfield, Mario Fats Caruso, Bobby Sprague, Red Cummings, Garvin Cooper, Trigger Watson, Billy Tibbetts. I remember these names, and later on in my career, had a chance to race with these fellas. Through my 21 years of racing, I accomplished many goals. Of course, I had many goals I didn't quite accomplish. Two of my goals were to race in the Indianapolis 500. When I was in 7th, 8th grade, there was no doubt that I was going to race the Indianapolis 500. And then the Daytona 500. Those two goals maybe became dreams. But I am extremely proud that my friends in the Hall of Fame, like Pete Hamilton, Ron Bouchard, Dennis Zimmerman, have made this accomplishment. Not to forget the Bodines, Brett, Jeff, and Todd. And especially Stafford Springs' great Smokey Botwell, who ran the 500 and finished the 500. I was fortunate to have some great car owners. My brother Bud Harman in the 5, Freddie Beaver, Stanley Laskowski, and Stanley Mazieski. That was the L&M. That's a car that I won quite a few races at New London, which is maybe the best modified in the country built that year. Matter of fact, it was a USAC official by the name of Lenny Poe who did come to the Speedboat banquet to present the L&M crew a trophy, saying that it was the best original modified in the country. Then I went on to run for Roland Ballinger, Ronnie Beckman, Bobby Judkins, 2X, Ernie Haney in the 98, Ted Marsh and Guy Barker in the 55, Chuck Rubar in 87. In the Marsh car and in the Rubar car, I finished 6th in the nation. That year, that was my best national finish. Kevin Cohen, Tucky Hoffman, 73. Thompson Speedway in 1973, I was a 73 track champion. Tucky put together a Ford engine that was the only Ford running against maybe 130 modified Chevrolets. We became the top car that year. And Tucky, undoubtedly one of the best car builders ever. And I went on to run with Ron Glowcock and Joe Zinga in the 06, where I finished my career in London. Without these car owners and mechanics, I would not have the success. But I would also like to thank the following for nominating me for the Hall of Fame: Leo Clary, Dennis Zimmerman, and the ambassador of our sport, that I consider as Bill Limble. No doubt in my mind that my days of racing has put me with the very best and would give me long life of friendship. Now that I'm retired in Florida from motor racing, I still enjoy the company from the very best in Florida. I am on the golf course quite often with Jerry Dostie, Georgie Summers, Ron Bouchard, Brett Bodine at times, Gene Bergen, Leo Cleary, Bill Wimble. There's times that Greg Sachs plays with us. But we're still waiting for Bobby Pulvereri. Bobby's a avid golfer, good golfer. And by the way, I know Bobby holds the track record at Thompson Speedway for the fastest lap ever turned in that speedway. But I think he has one other thing to go after, and that's to catch Leo Cleary on the golf course to play the fastest 18-hole in the history of golf. And Bobby, I think you could probably do that. But Bugsy Stevens says the best. I'm talking about my friends. The Southerners, the Winston guys, had her or not. We had her. We had Leo Cleary. I've got a little story to tell about Gene Bergen. I played with Gene just last Friday. And there's times that Gene can throw, the club is Friday can hit the ball. And Leo can attest to this. On par 3, the 17th hole, Thursday, Gene hit the ball a little short. Threw the club, passed the ball, and the club went in the water. And another story I had Bergen throwing things. We were at Stafford Speedway one night when we all got in a pilot. There's about 7 of us, Flemke, Bergen, myself, Eddie Flemke, and we were all sitting on the infield, piled up. Bergie gets out of his car, takes his helmet off. There it goes, across the parking lot. He's really upset. But here comes Booker with his record coming this way. Gene's helmet's going that way, Booker's coming this way. Booker's record picks up the helmet, Gene's helmet, right between the 2 rear wheels. And here it is coming back to us. Bergie's no longer upset. He puts his arm around me and says, Billy, that's a brand new helmet. Which I think Arup brought him a new one. I would like to have a special thanks to Pete Zanotti for this privilege of me being here, along with Tom Hornsby, Doug Farrow, Dan Potty, President Alfini. Thanks all. Mike Joy, you're the greatest. I'd like to thank my entire family, most of my hair, my daughters, my grandchildren. I have my oldest daughter's home babysitting for the biggest part of this. And I have my little Lydia and Beth, 2 of my granddaughters. And they said to me one day, they said, Grandpa, you're famous, aren't you? And I didn't really answer that question, but I can say today, maybe Beth and Lydia, just a little. Now, thank you all, everyone here, for making this the happiest day of my racing career. And you all know my buddy Georgie Pendergast, as Pete mentioned, who was a good friend. Georgie's up there. Give me a pat in the back today. Thank you all very much.